Guess there's no loop today. There goes electronics. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another amazing pod, Late Night with Chefs. Truffle Boy and Doug reporting for duty. And tonight we have another amazing guest chef. Doug, introduce our guest chef of the evening, please.
With pleasure. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode. As Vlad said, thank you all for tuning in. Tonight, we have the pleasure of hosting Chef Lisa Delgado. She is actually in Memphis right now for a barbecue competition, which we will get into later. But Chef is a private chef, self-entrepreneur, ambassador of many brands, and we are excited to have you on. How are you doing tonight, Chef?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to do this, even though traveling all day. It's very exciting to just work with different chefs and do things like this to maybe inspire others or, inspire the ones that are in our market. So it's just a lot of fun to hear everybody's stories. So I'm happy to be part of it.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming on and, sharing some time with us. So speaking of stories, Chef, if you want to kind of dive into where did your culinary journey sort of start?
Okay, of course we got to start somewhere. So my culinary journey started, and I'll show you my tat first because I don't know if you can see this one. I'm Italian, so that speaks words nice, right there. I like probably don't need to explain much more from there. I grew up with food. The kitchen was the hub and heart of the house, not the living room, not the anything, playroom or anything.
TV,
everything revolved. Yeah, everything. The TV was the pots and pans. The sound of the house was the pots and pans. Holidays and just I was very blessed and got to grow up with that grandma and grandpa and great grandma and great grandpa, and we were a very tight family. We did a lot of cooking together, and now that I look back, of course, when I started my business, I look back and I was like, wow, you don't realize how much or how lucky, and blessed that you are to be a part of that, to give that skill set that not many have growing up, because, Definitely. It is a skill set. You're learning so many different trades, not only of your nationality, but just different techniques and
just how to communicate and
and when I started, I'll start there. Number one, I grew up in a big cooking family. My mom was a elementary school teacher when I was little, and then my father worked for the Cleveland Railroad, but they branched off. Both my parents were very culinary oriented, very. And when they got more interested in what, more into the culinary part of it, my mom ended up going to the Culinary, the CIA Institute in New York, and became a pastry chef. And my dad, and they're both very, I'm homeopathic, so I'm very into, plants and, medicinal wise that way. I'm very farm to table, even though I hate using that farm to table word because they killed it basically, and abused it. But for those who really believe in it and supporting the farmers, I'm very farm to table, seed to table, all of that, and using.
It's unfortunately turned into sort of a marketing.
They turn it into a McDonald's term, if you ask me.
Everybody's farm to table.
This farm to table McDouble coming up.
I picked a dandelion. It's farm to table. So they branched out and really developed their culinary, and I was really lucky in the next sense of my growing up, getting a little older, because my parents did a lot of traveling and went to, traveling to Hawaii and New York City and just different places I got to go to, but they would always go to the fine dining restaurants, and I got to witness just so many different experiences, French, Italian, Pacific Rim, and all these different wonderful things. And so here I have a good soul background of just that nice family cooking and learning that part. And now I'm getting the next stage of, the fine dining restaurant, quality plating style, and learning that. And then when my parents went to school, because my dad started getting more into the bread baking and stuff. And he ended up going to the San Francisco Baking Institute and learning how to bake with Levon and doing natural breads. And he went into that category. Both my parents opened up, they had a restaurant when I was a little girl, got out of that, and they had the restaurant. It was just like a little family restaurant.
Yeah.
And then did that while they were still working. But then when they started going more into the culinary and everything part of it, we opened up a commissary. This is in the Cleveland area, commissary, and I ran a cafe because we got everything from the commissary that my mom and dad cooked, and I ran the cafe. I was only 11th grade, I think 11th or 12th grade. So like while all my friends are going out and partying, I'm like, I gotta fucking work, and I can't be there till like 1. And I hated it then, but I look back at it now and I'm like, wow, I'm thankful because I learned so much. And so we did that for a long time till they retired. My dad did a bread baking business, so many different things they've had their hands in.
Very interesting that your parents.
So many things that I grew up in, which was a norm to me. You know what I mean? But to everybody else, they're like, basically, what the fuck? You guys got your hands in everything. But I've turned into that. I've got my fucking hands in everything now that I've developed my brand. But getting back to developing, my parents, we ran the restaurant. I worked for them all my life. Everything I did was with them. I'm an only child. And so I was thrown into everything. And when they retired and I got married, I was just getting married. I was pregnant and they're retiring. And I was like, wait a minute. What the fuck am I gonna do now? You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know anything else but this shit. And it really freaked me out because I'm like, this is the only thing I know. And I was like, at that point, I'm like, is this what I want to do? I don't know if this is what I want to do because this is just what I kind of had to do all my life because it's just
right. There was no choice.
Yeah. And so I was like,
now you got choices and you're like, wait, hold on. I don't know about this choices stuff.
Right. And it was a freaky thing for me. Excuse me.
No, I think that's so interesting to see that both of your parents kind of found this culinary love later in life. And then for them to go into business together, you always hear like the horror stories of that, but it sounds like they cultivated this, already deep passion that they had. And now they're sharing that with you, and being able to share that with the community is really special.
Thank you. So when they retired, I, basically was like, so for the hell of it, I applied for the Hilton Columbus at Easton Town Center, which is a 5-star hotel that wasn't open yet. I was like, okay, this hotel is going to be getting built. It wasn't even built yet. And I'm like, I'll apply. I'll just apply for it. And I got it. And I was like, okay, so I guess we're moving to Columbus. So we ended up leaving my hometown where I grew up, and picked up and moved to Columbus, built in Columbus while we were all training in it. They were building all around us. So I got to, in the next weird stage of my life, I'm getting thrown into an industry that was a, big hotel industry, which I'm used to little mom and pop shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And just doing things, that's the way the family does it kind of shit. And
right,
I'm
right.
just like, now I'm gonna, suit and tie it up. And I'm like, what the fuck
time
is this?
clock and performance reviews. You're like, hold on. I thought a performance review was done at the dinner table. Yeah.
That's not how you do it. That's not how you do it. But, just so like training and doing that. And then came to more of the things of getting noticed more of my potential, I guess, when I, this is in my 20s. I'm 49 now. So this is in my 20s and not learning, but they're watching my potential and I'm getting moved up a little bit and I'm thinking, maybe I do have something together, not realizing. Yeah. So more people are asking me, like, where did you learn this? Or where did you learn this? Or how did you learn this? And I'm like, I from my parents, I didn't go to culinary school or anything, but this was more of the management side of it. I wasn't even into the cooking side of it. That was still a hobby. Okay. And I worked after the hotel opened. I was a restaurant manager and room service manager, doing banquets and, doing that whole shebang. And I did that for a little over 6 years. And across the street from the hotel was PF Chang's. So I don't know if you're familiar with Easton Town Center is like a really nice shopping area.
Gotcha.
Pretty high class stores. It's a really nice area, and there's the restaurants and the stores kind of like set up more of not mall style, but like almost
Like
old world style.
plaza.
Yeah, like the little stores, like line not yeah, it wasn't a mall. They were all individual stores, almost like a little city of stores. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And PF Chang's used to come over to the hotel, and they pretty much were like, "Hey, we have this package. We want you to come over with us." And believe it or not, like the Hilton was like literally my first like job, besides me being a little high schooler working for my parents and working for the little local grocery store, doing shit like that. Like this was a big time, So I was like, here I am, baby, newlywed, more money over there. Bye, Hilton, and I left and I went over to PF Chang's, but over there it was a little different. They actually trained their front of the house managers, which I thought was impressive. They trained them in front and back 100%. So you had to learn everything in the back while learning everything in the front. So if somebody didn't show up in the back, you could get your ass back there and work. They wanted you to know everything. So I had to work the walk station. I had to work the prep station. I had to work the appetizers, everything, how to do the pot stickers, how to do, using the wok and it was just overwhelming. And
when you're explaining this, I'm thinking about the previous FOH managers I worked with, and watching them try and work a walk station would probably be very comical. I can only imagine, you had a little bit of that culinary, that cooking experience, being brought up in that culture, but, for the other, candidates or other FOH managers, I don't know if that's still something PF Chang's does, but I can only imagine some of the FOH managers that I've worked with trying to execute, these dishes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I had the sense and grew up in it, but some of them came out of culinary school or just graduated college.
Hospitality management.
Hospitality management, and they're like, I don't know what the fuck that is, or I don't know what to do. And
I didn't sign up to cook. I'm here to help the servers. Yeah.
Right. So that was the next stage, and as of my another step of my culinary, and I was there for another 5 or 6 years at PF Chang's, and I was getting to the point where I was like wearing down, because literally in the hotel industry, you work insane fucking hours. And then being a new manager, I don't care where you're at, I was always like the 11 to 9 shift, and right in the middle, like getting the smack dab of killing the whole day. And I never got the morning shift. I was there always during the busy hours, and if you're expediting in a restaurant that's doing over 500,000 a week or more, it fucking kills you. You want to talk about tickets, they make a joke with the tickets hanging down and going down over there. That was us. You know what I mean? It was just, it was insane amount
with the double rail,
business.
And you still had all those tickets. Yeah.
It was insanity. Yeah. But, again, when I look back, I'm like, you know what experience I got to have, because I got thrown in the most ridiculous situations of what could be impossible, but knowing how to multitask, get it done. How do I get this done? How do I do it without the customer knowing? How do I get this accomplished? How do I do all this? And being able to, you know what I mean? And I got to the point where I was doing some, like, I'd have house parties. I took care of my servers. We always had fun, and I did all the cooking, and it started getting to the point where they were like, you need to do your own shit. You need to open your own restaurant. And I was like, knowing what I went through, like with my parents and then the hotel, and I was like, oh fuck no, I do not want to fuck with a brick and mortar whatsoever. I would never. And then I started digging more. I'm like, what about, I looked at personal chef stuff. I was just dabbling in it a little bit. At the same time, my daughter was in school and getting ready to go into high school. Well, I grew up in a small town, and country town. I live not in the country, but I mean, I'm not in a city whatsoever. Columbus was
Right.
like a big city. Yeah. I'm in the country, and I went to a high school that was just, bonfires and that kind of shit, drinking beers and smoking weed and having fun. And I was like, I really want her to have that kind of like experience and not this crazy high school in Columbus, Ohio shit going on. And my parents actually moved from our hometown to Columbus because I was there, and their granddaughter. And when she was getting ready to start high school, I was traveling back and forth to my hometown because we had a multi-year class reunion, and my house that I grew up in was just empty. My parents never got rid of it. It was just empty. And so I'd always go past and go, oh man. And my daughter's like, I really like it here. And I was like, wait a minute.
You do?
Yeah. So, and I was at that point where I was sick of working in the restaurant. I wanted to be home more with her. I missed her. You know what I mean? I was working so much, but, taking care of family, because that's what it's all about.
Right.
And I was like, she's getting ready to start ninth grade. I'm like, so what do you think about, going there? And she was okay with it. So I went to my parents. I'm like, we want to buy the house. We want to move back to Geneva. And it's kind of funny because they moved out there to come be with us. And I'm like, see ya. One of those.
Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, we ended up going back to Geneva. And of all places being, no offense, but country town and everything.
Yeah.
Here I am with all this experience, and I'm going to start a personal chef business and do more fine dining or do more. I didn't even know what I was going to do. It's just like, I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
And when I first developed it, it was more of cooking the weekly dinner kind of a thing. Like, here, I'm going to cook you dinner kind of shit.
Gotcha.
And yeah, and everybody's like, everybody looked at me like, oh, you're fucking crazy. That's never gonna fucking work. That's never gonna work. That's never gonna work here. And I was like, no, and I didn't want to give it up. I believed in what I did. I knew I could create good shit. And I believed in myself. So I think like that first step of getting into the industry that I'm in is really believing in what you do.
Yeah.
And believing in yourself and having that confidence. And I'm not a recipe person. I'll put that out there right now. Everybody's like, oh, because that keeps on coming up in where I'm at now is like, oh, you need to write a cookbook. And I'm like, well, you know what? It's going to have to be programmed for, because they have computer programs that can translate amounts of shit.
Right.
And because I said that would be the only way, because I'm like that. It's a little bit of this and a little bit of this. I don't have a recipe. They're all up here. I don't have anything.
With your eyes. Yeah.
Nothing.
I love that. I love that. I'm the same way.
Thank you. Thank you. I might go to a recipe that I don't understand or something if somebody requests something, and I'll look at it and I'm like, and then I'll look at another one and I'll look at 2 or 3 of them just to see how they compare. And then I'll be like, okay, I can do this. And so I create my own from what I kind of see. I've done that kind of stuff before, but I've never followed a recipe in my life. Never.
Yeah.
So I kept going of what I was doing and started to get a hold of like Fox 8 in Cleveland and, some of the news stations, and wanting to do like the little cooking shows like on the news and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just to get my name out there. I'm figuring, how am I going to get my name out there? I'm in a small fucking town here. I need to like Cleveland myself a little bit. I need to be more. Yeah, I need to broaden, because these people are not going to pay what I need, just because they're just not. What I mean.
Right. No, you gotta find your clientele. You gotta find that client base.
The clientele.
Yeah.
But I still wanted to take care of different things in my area. Like I'm also a VFW member. I'm a ladies auxiliary, so I did a lot of stuff for my local VFW too, for donating my time or doing VFW dinners. I didn't care. Whatever my daughter had going on at school, whether it's like the chocolate fest or those little things they do after school, I did them. Like I did everything I could get my hands on, everything. And so I finally, got more into the news stations, and they started having me come in, like doing the Sunday thing. And so I started doing the cooking like segment for whatever days they'd had open. And
That's very interesting. Do you remember kind of, from the beginning, like what were your, what were your beginning menus that you would kind of sell as these like weekly dinners? Do you remember like that first like, this one's a crowd favorite?
well, I stuck a lot with like my heritage and my husband. So, and my husband's Puerto Rican.
Oh, okay.
He's from Puerto Rico. So when, we've been married 25 years now, but learning that culture, which was similar to the Italian culture, like the families are very similar of how,
Right.
except for, like, of course, flavors, but their cooking styles. And he grew up the same kind of way I did, lots
Yeah.
of cooking in the family.
Well, and
Everything was
the
homemade.
passion for it too is,
Yeah, the
yeah,
passion
that's
for
there.
cooking and
Yeah.
spirit. And so I think that's what made me and my husband click a lot. And so I did a lot of Puerto Rican because there was a lot of Spanish in the community too. So I did, the rice and beans, and I do those kind of dinners, and then I do Italian. So I did those kind of, I don't want to say plain, but these are the things I know people around here would eat kind of thing.
The staples. Yeah.
Yeah, staples. Thank you. And so I started doing more of those, and all of a sudden I don't even know where the fine dining came in. I think it was more of like, I need to expand. This is more of me wanting to expand
Right.
what am I about? This is not really what I'm about. I think I got bored of it. Yeah, this is good, but this is not, I need something more.
It's not my full potential. Yeah.
No, yeah, it was not my full potential. So the more I did with Fox 8 and Channel 10 and all that kind of stuff, a little more I would start getting. Now I was starting to get calls of, hey, I have an anniversary coming up. Do you do, and I didn't. I'm like, yeah, I do that.
Oh, I've done like 6 of those. Yeah, I got you. Don't worry about it.
So I started.
That's Vlad's famous line. I got you.
I got you. Yeah. So I started, dabbling more into, because I wasn't scared. You know what I mean? I wasn't scared to get my hands into anything.
Yeah, you had that confidence.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah. So I would, didn't have any equipment whatsoever of dishes or anything. So, I would go to whatever store or I went to a thrift store and I found all brand new Williams Sonoma set of dishes. And I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, I'm so excited. I can use these. So these are the things I gathered in the very beginning and just what I could get. And I started doing fine dining dinners and not becoming, but now more of that creativity from my parents was coming out of all those fine dining restaurants we went to and what I remember of me eating and different things. So I started developing my own plating and my own menus and my own styles. And it slowly started to pick up and take off. And the fine dining part kind of started really blowing up. And I started getting recognition from it. And it was working. And this is, it took a few years for this to grow. So it started to work more and more. And so the next stage was me looking, watching TV and seeing Chopped all the time. So I'm like, fuck it, I want to go on that. And I interviewed for it and I got on Chopped. And after that, that's where, of course, things started blowing up more and more for me from being on Chopped.
So we've had other, not to cut you off, but I'm curious about this process. We've had other people who got onto Food Network, and it's always like one of those pipe dreams, I think, for a lot of chefs. Did you use a casting agency to sort of propel you there, or did you just kind of go online and put the application in? And
I saw it on Facebook that they were casting, and I did the video, and they called me.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's how that happened.
We had another chef, and he's had some success using casting agencies who actually take his profile and then will post it to, multiple different outlets, like you were talking about, newsrooms who are looking for people. Chef Luke Rogers, he was actually just a chef for the Kentucky Derby and had a dish.
Which there's a lot of controversy around. the
Yeah.
winner. No, that was really
winner,
funny
yeah.
to hear that.
Yeah.
Right.
He was there. But that's cool to kind of see, you know, everyone's like, oh, I want to be on Chopped, I'll never get on there. But, you know, just put that, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're not going to look at your application and you wasted 10
Right.
minutes of your life.
Well, the
So
application
what?
is long in and of itself. Like, I know when I was 18, I was like, oh, I'm going to apply. Then I saw the application and it was like,
It was.
write
Oh, it
100
was.
paragraphs about yourself. And I
Yes.
was like, yeah, I'm gonna go hang
How
out with
bad
my
do you want
friends.
it? How bad do you want it?
Yeah,
It's
exactly. And I did look at it a few times before I finally did it because I was like, fuck that, you know. Now,
Like, all right, I got 45
yeah,
minutes.
I think-
Let's
yeah.
do it.
Yeah. So, you know, you fill it out, you put your little video in, but you have to do it like 3 different times. You know, you got to do like all these different Skype videos before they pick you. So there's a lot that they put you through. So,
Yeah.
and I actually did MasterChef too.
Yeah.
I didn't get all the way, but I went through that thing too. And that was a lot of different categories too. But
now with
after-
the Master Chef, I heard that if you have like too much culinary background, they kind of don't.
Yeah.
They don't cast you because they're like afraid that you're gonna, you know, be too good, I guess. But I had a couple
Yeah,
buddies in culinary school that said, you know, they took 1 or 2 classes years ago, you know, and they like dropped out of culinary school and did something else. And then when they came back around it, saying, you know, they wanted to do it for fun, they kind of went through the first interview, and on the second interview, you know, they said that you have too much culinary background.
Yeah, I got to the last. I got through all the interviews, and then once you get through all the interviews, then you have to go through you have to travel to where you have to start making dishes for them. And once they started seeing my once they saw my dish compared to everybody else's, they're like, it was too much. It was too much what I was doing. Too different or too.
Wow.
It was it wasn't.
You have to
because
take
I was
it
looking
as
at everybody else's dish
yeah.
too, and I was like, what the fuck is that slop? You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, do I really
It's like
belong here?
the nailed it cakes when they just completely don't turn
nailed
out.
it, yeah. Love that. That show cracks me up. Oh my god. Oh, it's so that show I watched.
But it
that's the
makes
only
for
one I
good
watched.
TV. That's why they choose.
It
those
is.
candidates.
Oh, yeah.
It's very TV driven and all
Yeah.
about the
They're all that way,
ratings.
though. Yeah, they're all about that too. Even a lot of the Food Network ones too. They do things on purpose because when I did Chopped, they were trying to cause drama between me and another chef, and there was no drama between me and that chef. But they would come to me, then they would go to him, and then they'd come back to me. Well, he said, well, I think this chef likes you, or look. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, just trying to create. And I'm like, okay, I know this is about ratings, and the more drama you guys, the better. But, you know, I'm thinking in my head, let me just get through this because this is not what I'm about. And no, you know, I'm not going to be that one on TV going, blah, 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 even though I'm like that anyways. Not like that. But, yeah, I mean, but to be on it, it does, like, you know, I did it. I'm proud of it.
Yeah, such a humbling experience.
Yeah, it's a great experience.
Yeah. Who are
it didn't bother
if you don't mind me asking, who are the judges? Did you get to meet like Alex Garnacelli?
I did the Alton Brown challenge. So I had Alton.
Oh.
God,
Yeah,
I'm
so-
jealous now.
Heavy hitter.
Yeah,
That's
yes.
Good
I had to do the dehydrated challenge. It was all about molecular gastronomy and weird shit. It was a molecular challenge. It was season 34. But yeah, he's my idol too. Yeah. So when you're starstruck when you go because you're like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
But the difference of being like on Chopped compared like when you're on TV and doing like the news and stuff, you're live. Because somebody asked me, don't you get nervous when you're live? And I'm like, not anymore because I do it all the time now. But back then, my first TV ones, I was scared shitless. Oh my God. Just, you know, and you're fine. All of a sudden you're like, I talk now. You're like so nervous. You're like, you know, you're looking back before though. And Chopped was different, even though you know it's going to be on TV. You're not live at that moment. You know it's going to be down the line somewhere, and you just don't, you know. So it's just a little bit different, but it's still intimidating.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely very intimidating. But that was one of my longest days of my life, being on Chopped, because you are there so many hours. It's insanity. I
So
was
they
actually I got chopped because I didn't want to be there anymore. I was so tired. I was so tired. I was like, oh my God, just let me get chopped. Because it's already been like, you know, we had to be there at like, I think I had to get up at like 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock
goodness.
in the morning, and we had to meet at this coffee house place. And from there, and just the whole thing was just weird. When you get there, they had to, they kept bringing you to different rooms. It was, because they kept moving you around with the chefs, and then putting you by yourself, and then putting you with this chef, and then putting you with all the chefs. And it's almost
Mm,
like they were trying to create a
yeah.
chaotic moment. I could see what was going on. I was just like, oh, but that's part of being on TV. I guess that's part of the experience.
Right. They
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
draw what they need from you as much as possible.
Yes, yes. Um, so yeah, when I got back from Chopped, um, I just kept growing. I think that's when I wanted to more start like my brand. I wanted to brand myself, and so I started doing in the personal chef business. It's really weird because I had two sides to my personal chef business. I was doing weekly dinners, and then I'm doing this fine dining on the weekends. You know what I mean? And
Right.
different things like that. So I had usually a personal chef just either does dinner parties or just a dinner party chef.
Right.
Not a lot of them do the flip flop. So I'm doing both of these different things, and I would go through stages of sometimes I would get all weekly dinners and be busy with that, and then that would drop off, and then I had all these fine dinings on the weekends, and I was trying to figure out, I'm like, how do I balance this, because I really want to balance this out. Um, I want to take care of people because I was really into health and eating good. And I'm like, I want to, teach people how to eat healthy and how they can eat healthy and enjoy food at the same time instead of being
Right.
all these
Right.
fucking crazy diets and eating all this shit food and not
Yeah.
being healthy. I
Yeah.
want to teach them they can be healthy and still eat butter and have olive oil. And I mean, just I want to teach them and still have carbs and still have all these things, but how to eat them and how much, just different things like that. But a lot of that has to do with cooking from scratch. You know what I mean? When you're cooked from scratch, you know exactly what's in everything. You're eating a whole compound of whatever is the creation. And instead of like even working in some of the fine dining in the Hilton, no offense to some of those places, but even though it's plated beautifully and they present it to you, they, no offense, but they still opened up a fucking number 10 can somewhere back there. I don't
Right.
care.
Right.
And you
And
just
that
paid
goes all the way to
$75.
all the 3 Michelin star restaurants as well, because there is that being
Yes.
done. We they're known, for adding MSG to as much as possible because it's a business and they want to keep you coming
Yes.
back for that
Yes.
dish, whatever that dish is, whatever that sauce is. It needs to be McDonald's level of
Yeah.
like in your brain, I need to have this.
Yes. You're absolutely right. And so I wanted to do something just so different. Um, so I tried to, pricing was an issue. How do I price this? I didn't know anything about how to do, like how am I gonna make this so it's affordable for the American family, or for, do I want to just stick to the people that have money, or do I want to stick to that whole philosophy of the ones that are the hardworking blue collar people, but also the higher class, or also the people that make a lot of money, that where can I get them to come in a medium where they're enjoying the same foods, affordable, where they don't give a shit, of course, up here, but these people up here are like, I am getting amazing shit and it's a decent price and I can do this. How do I
Right.
get that? And I think it's by just as much as I did a hit and miss of just some, it's I think it's with like with anybody in a business, it's more of, you have to play around with things to figure things out, successes and failures and see what works. So I did a lot of those in about a year and a half time, really test it out and play with it and see what worked. And it was really hard because, now I'm working in my own business. I don't have like that kind of money coming in, and I'm like, oh my God, is this going to work for me? I don't have a check coming in anymore. It's just, my husband's the only one that's got a check coming in, and it's not, and we need both our incomes to survive and do all this.
Right.
Our daughter's getting older. What the fuck am I going to do here?
Yeah, she's got college coming up. She wants a car, prom
like,
dress.
What do I do here?
Yeah.
But again, I really believed in what I did, and the people that I did take care of really enjoyed what I did. I didn't get any negative comments usually. I got a lot of good feedback, and I developed all my feedback into what I started, where I've become today.
I think that's such an important part. You talked a little bit earlier about you having the confidence, which is a big key to this industry. But the second part that I think is really crucial, and you just spoke on it, is being able to take criticism and turn it into a strength. Being able to recognize when someone says, hey, this is your opportunity, and being able to constructively be like, okay, I appreciate that feedback, and this is how I'm going to turn it into a strength. And I think, confidence is key, but that second piece is so important.
It is, especially in the chef industry, because you tell a chef something negative, they're like, fuck you, get the fuck out of my restaurant, or you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You can't be that way. And I know chefs are that way because I've worked for them, where I'm just like, you're a fucking asshole kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like, I can't tell you nothing. And I wasn't even trying to be a bitch. I was just trying to talk to you about something. And, so I have that experience with chefs that do that. And that was another thing. I was like, I'm not like that. You know what I mean? I want to I think constructive criticism is the best opportunity for any chef to improve themselves if they're building a brand, if they're building themselves into something. Because I wasn't a restaurant, I was an entity. I was me. So how am I going to stand out? How am I going to be different? And how am I going to be not in the box? I'm a person that likes to be out of the box, but using some of the things in the box. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
So, I slowly developed more and ended up getting an amazing person to help me with a website and develop a website. And even with that, because I am the type of person that likes to, I'm very hands-on. So, and this computer person that was helping me, they develop, websites, and you pay them, they do the website for you, give them information, that's what they do. But I wanted to make the website. I wanted control of it, but I couldn't do all of it because there's some things I don't know that I need their help with, but I didn't want them to program it. And they were just like, they looked at me like, nobody's ever done that before. Like, what do you mean you want to do it? I'm like, I want to put my pictures in. I want to put the descriptions in. I want to do all that. I want to do it. I want to program it. And it took me a fucking 2 weeks where it would take them, because they like kept calling me, and I'm like, yeah. And I call sometimes almost in tears. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Oh my God, I can't do this. And my husband, we took pictures of me just sitting at the computer going, basically, what the fuck? Like, what am I doing? But I got through it. I muddled through it. And my website is one of those where, you got to go to the back of the house to program to go to the front of the house. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Part of the website. And so I learned how to do all that. You got to go to the other side, put in all that, and then you got to flip it over to go to the other side to see how it looks. And you can do some things from the front, but you got to always go to the back side to program it. I mean, I learned so much, but I was able to always log in and change shit when I wanted to. And I didn't have to call somebody to do it. Because I'm one of those where sometimes I got shit that comes up and I want it in right now, and I could just do that right now. I don't have to call somebody, So that was
call the help desk. Yeah.
So website came next. And another thing that made me stand out as a personal chef was the fact that in my fine dining side, the world was their oysters, as I put it. I didn't have a set menu. I didn't want to have a set menu because I looked at shit ton of personal chefs' websites and they all had a set menu, most all of them. I'm like, I don't want a set menu. I want the client to pick whatever the fuck they want and I'll make it. I'll give them help and guide them. I
Yeah.
don't want to have a set menu. I'll have some things on there that are most popular, but I always say, my thing was, you don't go, you go to a restaurant and you go to your favorite restaurant. You go to that restaurant because you love this chicken marsala, and you go to that restaurant because you want that dish. But doesn't that get boring every now and then? Because you know what, you're stuck with the same menu all the time. Don't you want to have something different at that restaurant all the time? You go to some island restaurants, and that's, I think, where I learned that, where the island, some of those nice little bistro island type restaurants, never would have a set menu. It would be, this is what we have today. And they write the menu on the chalkboard, and that's what the chef was making that day. And I love that because we would go to that place all the time and I'd get something different every day.
Every single time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I loved that. And that's how I wanted the fine dining side. So that's how I developed that. And it's on my website that way too, where I do have a list of like things that they can pick from. Or, nowadays there's so many allergies and all that kind of stuff we have to deal with now. So I have to be very careful of, they always are like, well, I have a gluten intolerance. I'm like, that's okay. I can't eat carbs. That's okay. You can't eat carbs. I'm vegetarian. That's okay. So I made sure I took care of everybody's needs that way with the weekly dinners and fine dining. We're at the point where I was getting so many people that were like, oh my God, this chef will take care of my allergies and my special needs, and I can get anything I want. So, and I want them to feel that way. I don't want anybody to feel restricted. So that was like the next part of me growing for my audience is, I always looked out there, what's going on, like I said, the allergy thing started really picking up, and, so I needed to cater to those people, and vegetarian people. I'm like, man, they don't have very many places to go. They don't have many things to do. So,
Yeah. No, and I think that's important as a chef to sort of realize that untapped market, that untapped potential there. I know I was guilty of this in my young culinary career. I was thinking, oh, gluten is so hard to cook gluten-free. It's so hard to cook for shellfish allergies. It's so hard to cook vegan. But then it is in a sense, but when you start kind of like digging into it, you realize like, oh, like there's these substitute products that are like 1-for-1 substitutes,
right.
Or there's these plant-based products. And if I learn how to utilize this, I can, easily make this dish, but just sub out, these couple of ingredients.
Right.
And
right.
once you start like
right.
actually opening your brain and being like, all right, I got to figure out how to do this, it's a lot more, it's less daunting of a task than it seems.
Exactly.
Well,
and that's, I'm glad you brought that up, because like on my weekly dinners, because now I have clients throughout my weekly dinners that I've had for years now. I mean, they've been the same clients for over 5-6 years I've had, and I'm adding more. And that's when we'll get into the COVID part, because boy, COVID, I blew up even more.
Yeah.
Oh, I
you were ready for that.
Oh, I was ahead of the game. Are you
when
kidding
every
me?
restaurant was like, how do we pack this to go? You were like, I got it.
Chef Lisa was like, check out my website, y'all.
I was already on it.
Check out my website.
Yeah, I was already on it. I was doing it. And when that contactless thing came out, I was like, I'm already doing this. Except for I'm going into the client's home because I have all their garage codes.
What else you got, COVID?
Yeah. So, now that everybody's home, I took it a step further and did, more, because I'm a personal chef. I want to be personalized with them. So it was the contactless delivery, but I would I text them when I'm a half hour out, and I text them again after their food's dropped off. So they're always in contact with me, every one of my clients. Or if they have a question about heating instructions, they can text me any time of day, which they do. And I let them know, okay, yeah, just do this. but that's another part of being a personal chef, is really being there for your clients too, and giving that personalized service. That's where a lot of even restaurants miss, is that personalized extra step that nobody does anymore. Like, I used to go to the fine dining restaurants, and they used to come with the crummer, and they used to put your napkin on your lap. I'm just talking about those extra steps that they used to do for you, around you, to really make you feel special, does not fucking exist anymore.
Yeah, and I
It,
think that you
that,
having I mean, you could speak to this behalf, but just hearing your story, you having that FOH experience kind of earlier on in your career really
yes,
speaks to you being able to be personal, because a lot of
yes,
chefs, and kind of like we talked about, you being able to communicate at a young age because you had, different generations of family members all in the same kitchen, and learning how to communicate and just be a personable human, is sometimes something that's missed when you're stuck in the back of the house, in front of a flame,
right,
and the only, living aspects are the salamander, the oven beneath you, and your lowboy
yes,
behind you.
yes,
You can
because most of
slam a
them
lowboy
can't
door
even
and it's not going to scream at you. So,
right.
yeah.
So that was a big thing where I had that uh, more of that potential of being very personable and having that touch, because I've worked on both sides, where most chefs in the back cannot handle the front of the house whatsoever fucking ever. They just can't do it. So,
Guilty.
you know,
I
yeah, it's
I was a
okay.
server for 3 weeks before I got
We
hired.
we just
Yeah.
recently we recently had Chef Rafa, and he was talking about the same thing. It's like him being always in the back of the house. He was like, "Oh, I can do front of the house, doing counter, you know, bringing people up and like doing all that." And the way he described it, he's the same thing. Is like you really have to be in this like persona where you're open to people and like really personal, and it takes a lot from you, as it's an effort, right? You make an effort to be as
Yeah.
kind, understanding, compassionate, empathetic as as possible. So I love seeing like correlations between different stories, different time, different places, but living through the same thing. And I think just like us, and just like this podcast, or just like any chef, knowledge is power. The more more chefs we speak to, the more knowledge we get from you guys. Different experiences, different routes. What worked, what didn't, how did that all work? So that's what's really interesting and fascinating, I think, to me and Doug, is hearing everybody's story, everybody's kind
Absolutely.
of
I agree.
side things, and how things don't just happen, right? You work towards
Yeah,
something,
the
and you build on it, and you
correlations.
build on it, and you
Yeah.
build on it. And I think the way everything you said in your story, it's really like a beautiful unraveling of how everything got to where you wanted and where your vision is. And being able to do that is amazing. And I think out of everything you said, it was really important for you to have creative freedom, right? From running your own website, to being able to like put it on, whatever you want on the spot, to being able to write your own menus and really be personal. So I really love, that creative
Thank you.
freedom. It keeps, you're saying it in many different words. And I love, like, it keeps coming back to me, and I'm like, wow, that's so free to like to be creatively free like that is just an amazing power in of itself.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been quite I'm still on the journey. It's always a learning journey. And people always say, "Where did you now that I've, done so many nice fine dinings, and I've done some, celebrity, I've done, I've done a lot of amazing things. Where did you learn? Where did you go to culinary school?" That's what I get all the time. Where'd you go to culinary school? And I was like, and I always joke, because now it's just such a thing. I'm like, I was homeschooled. I was homeschooled, which I was. I was homeschooled. I didn't go to culinary school. I was
Right.
Yeah.
You
homeschooled.
did have two great alums from,
Your mom
the
was a CIA
CIA,
grad. You
and
didn't
then
need
the
to go to
San
culinary school.
Francisco
Yeah.
baking school. I mean,
Right.
Talk
that's
about early mentorship. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, it's just, I had such great opportunity. I mean, of course, I owe everything to my parents, because without them, I would have never, and I've always taken all of that and how important family is, because it is. It all started with that strong family unit, which developed me. But Yeah, the COVID thing, a lot of my friends came to me that own restaurants because I have a lot of restaurant friends. And like, how are you doing this? Or, some that I didn't even know. I'm like, wait, you didn't give me the time of day. No, thank you. I'll help this person. But you're just doing it because you're scared to death of losing your ass right now. But, and it's no offense to you, but when I reached out to like maybe do something with you before, you didn't want to hear about it. But now that I'm so successful, you want to know how I do what I do? No. But on the other hand, others that I know that, are I know who's working hard out there and I know who doesn't give a shit out there. And a lot of them will come to me, even the young ones in culinary school, and, for me to be a mentor and wondering how I do what I do. And the first question I always ask anybody, I say, do you love to cook? Yeah, I love to cook. I said, well, when you go to work and you cook, do you go to work that day? Yeah, I go to work. I said, boom, that's the difference between you and me, because I don't go to work. I fucking love what I do. When I'm getting ready to do a fine dining event, I feel like I'm going on a first date. I get butterflies in my stomach. I'm like, I can't wait to do this. I get all excited. I can't wait to go do it. I print my own menus. I have my own plateware. I'm polishing my silverware. I'm ironing my linens. I'm printing the menus. I do everything, even my promotions and my internet promotions, because I don't do big advertising. Everything that I've done and built has been through social media, all of it. Tagging, hashtagging. I learned so much about hashtagging, how I got all my sponsorships, all about hashtagging and repetitiveness. Because everybody's like, well, how'd you get B&B Charcoal? How did you get Big Green Egg? How'd you get Gunther Wilhelm Cutlery? How did you get
Big
this?
green egg. Oh,
Yeah,
I love the big green egg. That is
me too.
I can't wait to have a backyard to buy one. That and
Oh,
Traeger. That's like two
yeah,
that
I have a Traeger
side
too.
by
I have a
side you
Traeger.
gotta have those.
Yes, it's fucking amazing because those two grills, there's so much potential between those two grills, because I'll get into that next stage with Traeger I'll talk about Traeger in a minute. But those two grills, because Traeger, I always stayed being on a barbecue team because that's where I'm at now, Memphis in May. That was a whole different thing for me, being a fine dining chef, and I'm now with all these pit masters and all this different world, and I'm like, I don't again, like being on TV again, I'm like, I don't fucking belong here. Kind of a thing. I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? This is not me. But I grew up, with, like I said, I grew up country wise too. I still had that in me where we did pig roasts, and I go to Puerto Rico with my husband, and it's all, farmland. We own 12 acres in Puerto Rico, and it's all up in the mountains off the grid. I don't even have a fucking address where I live in Puerto Rico. I'm off the grid kind of shit, which I love. And, the big pig roasts and all that kind of stuff. So I have that in me, and I understand it, but I'm competing now with a team that I have to support and represent. What can I give? What can I do to this team? Because I didn't understand it. And the first year that I competed, I got top 20 in my category. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's awesome. These people doing this for fucking 15, 20 years. And here I am. So even though it was top 20, I took it as like, holy shit. Because there's over 100, 100
Yeah.
people, 120 people.
Hey, take the win. Yeah.
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 And I was like, but they got me on the team because I do bring that little something different to the team of, when the judges come, of how to address the judges. Again, that front of the house kind of like thing, and how to pamper a little bit. And when we decorate the grill, because like our main turn-in has to be all decorated, with the fruit, and making palm trees with the fruit, and doing all those, what I mean, decorating the grill and all that kind of stuff. That's where I came in, where they didn't have that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's where a team really comes together, is everybody has their specialty. And,
Finding those strengths and identifying those are so important in building a successful team.
yes.
Who's this third shift on the barbecue pit on your team?
Yeah.
Because that's also right. That has to be maintained all throughout the night, depending on what competition or
Yeah.
what style you're doing.
Yep. Because Memphis in May, there's sauce categories, there's ancillary categories. That's where all the team members have a category. Like I'm seafood, somebody else has beef, somebody else has wings, somebody else has exotic. Then there's sauces. There's like a vinaigrette, a barbecue, and a mustard sauce. So everybody has a responsibility, but then we all come together to do the main category, which is going to be Saturday, which is, we have shoulder, but some have whole hog, some have, there's all different ones.
Wow.
Ribs. There's, so we all come together, and that's where we all come together and take care of different things and present. But like the team captain is the one with a couple of the other boys that they're the ones that stay up all night with the shoulders. That's their main, the boys, they do their thing. And we all come in the next morning and after they stay up all night, because they got to stay up all night and start the rest of the process, because the whole tent has to transform. It's just a whole different thing for the main category. We all come together as one. We all have different responsibilities. This is my 4th year competing, so it's pretty exciting.
That's amazing.
But getting back to like COVID, so the COVID thing was crazy. A lot of people would, were scared, and I get that, and they'd come to me, how do you do this? And I said, well, I don't go to work. I don't go to work every day. I love what I do, so it's not work to me. And when COVID hit, because I was already doing the weekly dinners, I was already established with that. And I started that contact list, and hey, I will text you on my way. I will text you after I drop it off. Put your bag. You can even put your bag outside, and I'll fill it like Santa Claus. And I would do things like that and say things like that. And it worked, because it was personalized service. And this person talked to this person. I'm one of those that rely on word of mouth. I'm not one to advertise like I do, because a lot of my clients are older and they're really not on Facebook and Instagram and all that shit. So when I was doing different parties and stuff for them,
Word of
that's where I
mouth.
was
Yeah,
getting all my
travels.
clients. Yeah. And I rely heavily on word
As
of
much
mouth.
as like the older folks are not on social media, Facebook as heavy, they are on their phone gossiping
connected.
all
They're connected.
day
Yes.
long.
Oh yes.
Don't mistake
Yes,
that
yes,
they're not
yes.
connected. They know.
Yes.
They know what's going down the street. They might not have seen it on
Yeah.
Instagram, but they know what's going on.
Exactly. So it really worked for me really well for everyone that stayed home, because I just started getting so many clients. I got to the point where I just couldn't keep up. I couldn't keep up, because it's only me. You know what I mean? My husband works. He has a job.
Yeah.
He helps me on my fine dining if it's over a certain amount of people that I can't handle by myself, because on my fine dining, I only go up to 20 people. I don't go any higher. I keep it small.
It gets too messy, right? After
It
that,
does.
it's a
does.
whole
I can't-
different ball game. You're
It
starting
is.
to rent things. You're bringing in additional service staff, this
Staff,
staff,
yeah.
this
Yes. It's a
extra.
whole different
Instead of having 20, you're now 30. What were you doing? 30 or 40, 40 to 50. Then it's a whole. I agree with you. 20
And
is
I don't
like
have
that sweet
control of the
spot.
plates anymore, because somebody else is doing my plates for me. And what if that plate went out like shit? That's a bad name on me. So yes, I keep everything where I have control of it, and that's the only way I can have control of it. Is if I'm doing it, and my husband is my sous chef on those things, or my daughter is the server with her best friend, and that has been it for my fine dining. That's my staff. I don't go anybody. I don't venture out anymore at all. And so, oh my God, I lost my train of thought. I probably need another beer, don't I? See, I told you once I stopped talking.
Yeah. Well, no, talking
um,
about COVID, I mean, that's a blessing to have, to be
so
able
the
to have
COVID
too
thing,
many.
yes.
Yeah.
So I was getting so many people that were calling in, and I'm like, it got to the point where when COVID started a year ago, I literally, and I haven't stopped, I've been working 7 days a week, no break at all, because weekly dinners are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But on Tuesday nights, I got to post the menu on like clockwork. I post the menus for everybody to go to. It was a training process too. So everybody knew on Tuesday night, go look at the menu and put that order in. Orders are due by Friday, everything prepaid. I did everything except for some of the older clients, because they don't have Venmo and Zelle and all that shit. So, but I made it where they can use PayPal because a lot of them have PayPal. I made PayPal. I made it so easy for them to pay. And the ones that didn't have all that, and I knew them, they'd write me, little people, they'd write me a little check, and, and they'd have it in their little bag, and they have a check for me in the bag. And I was like, yeah, that's okay. That's fine. And so it would get to the point where I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm starting to cook, and I am cooking until it takes me to do all these dinners, because I post about 7 or 8 menu items on Tuesday nights, anywhere between 6 and 8, I'll say, depending on how difficult some of the dishes are. Full meals, and they're allowed to morph any of the dishes. So if they're vegetarian, like you were talking about earlier, whatever's on my menu, I transform into vegetarian. So if it's grilled meatballs, they get the grilled Impossible Burger, but with the same ingredients that I would put in my regular meatball: fresh garlic and the breadcrumb and the fresh egg and, parsley and basil. Everything that I would put in a regular meatball, they would get it in theirs, except for it's vegetarian. Zucchini, the zoodles, that's a huge thing, making the zucchini noodles instead of pasta. But I would never charge extra for any of those things, which a lot of people do. I didn't charge extra to transform their food whatsoever, because what I was charging for regular and what I'm charging them, depending on what it is, it all balanced out anyways, where I wasn't losing any money. You know what I mean?
And the repeat business is so crucial too.
I wasn't losing any. So whatever I was losing over here, it balanced out on the other side somehow. And so I didn't want to make it where, because I know if I get something different, oh, it's an extra $5 for that. For what? To make me fucking zucchini noodles? No. So I would never charge extra for that. So that was really important, I thought, to the client. And so, I'd be cooking till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because I knew if I had to be done by 2. And here I am. Now I'm delivering all that. I'm bagging them all up. So, I'm the cook. And
you're the website designer, the order taker.
I start by making the menu. So I'm making the menu. I'm the chef. I'm the cook. I'm the sous chef. I am the server that comes in and starts packing the carry-out order, double checking all that, and then I'm the delivery driver on top of that shit. So
and then you're the steward after, cleaning it all up as well.
Yes. So I'm cooking until 2 o'clock, and this is true every day until I have to be done by 2, because I cook for almost 5 to 7 hours every day, and I deliver between 4 and 5 hours every day. That is my day. So I get home anywhere between 5 and 6:30 p.m. from starting at 6 in the morning every day.
That's amazing. Congrats. I mean, that's it. I didn't want to say it, but I mean, it's amazing. And it really, you can really see the love that you're putting into this, and just how you're, explaining everything, and how, it's not work to you. It's, it's your life. It's your passion. You're connecting with these people, and you're really building an amazingly strong foundation, for whatever is coming ahead.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Yeah. So so when they would come to me and they're like, well, how do you do it? And I would explain that. I get up at 6 in the morning. I am cooking all day, and I'm cleaning as I'm cooking. So I don't want to, I'm always cleaning up as I'm going, because I don't come back home, or don't come back to clean, or, go back to the commissary to clean. It's upkeep. So you are multitasking like a motherfucker all day. And then you got 5 to 7 menu items, and you're making those all from scratch. So if I'm doing, let's say, let's just do a pasta dish, where sometimes I'll do an Alfredo sauce. I'll start with the cream, and I start with, they're getting Alfredo. So like I always tell them, and that's, I think, which makes a big difference of making things from scratch, because they don't understand, because they buy Alfredo sauce in the store, or if they get it from the restaurant, it reheats perfectly fine. And once I make an Alfredo sauce, I give them the Alfredo sauce, but I tell them, if you're not going to eat it today and you put it in the refrigerator, it's going to change on you, because it's made with real cream. So and with the cheese and everything.
Microwave waves are gonna break my Alfredo sauce. You heard?
It's gonna separate like a motherfucker. It's not gonna be right. So I have to teach them a little bit in cooking too, which is kind of fun, because they always get extra cream. And they always wonder, like, why are you giving me extra cream? I said, well, when you slowly heat up the one you put in the refrigerator, you start stirring in the cream because it's going to be different. So you have to do that to make it creamy again, or else it's going to separate on you if you don't do it this way. Just different things like that. So it's teaching them different methods of realizing what they're getting in their favorite restaurant is not fucking real cream, is not real. You know what I mean? And shit like that. They're like, what the fuck?
It's Alfredo from Cuisine Solutions. Yeah.
Yeah. And different things like that. So when I'm doing those things, I'm doing the Alfredo sauce and doing that dish. And then over here, I got to get the meatball mixture together. Then over here, I got to hurry up and get the grill lit because I'm doing steaks over here. And I got to get the roasted red skins over here because I got to do the main with 2 sides because all my meals are balanced. So every one of those are fully balanced meals. And then I buy the environmentally friendly containers so they all are feeling good about the environment.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's the whole shebang. They're using their own bag, and it's just a really nice cycle that I've built all the way around to make everybody happy. I'm making the special needs of needing different dietary needs happy. The ones that are green, because a lot of people go green. They don't like all that plastic shit. So, it makes those people happy. And, the ones that don't give a shit whatsoever, because I'd be one of those people. I would be like, I don't give a shit. I look at those kind of people like me, I'd be like, that's pretty fucking cool. I like how they're doing that. You know what I mean? So
when you're building that education piece in there too, like,
So yeah, that's how all that built with COVID. So COVID was really actually good to me, but it helped me build more, where now I'm at the point where menus posted on Tuesday, and by Thursday, I'm sold out. I just can't take anymore. So I can only take so many people per day. And when others come to me, like, how do you do that? And I'm like, because I'm cooking for 7 hours and I'm delivering between 4 and 6 hours a day. And they just their jaws drop. They're like, and you deliver it? I'm like, yeah. Well, why don't you hire somebody? I'm like, I've tried, but I've had problems with that because this is my food. This is my pride going out.
Right.
And I've had some good, few have really fucked up because they don't give a shit what they're just delivering it messy or not being that extra step. And I got to the point where that's why I do what I do and why I do so much, because I'm like, I have control.
Yeah, they don't have the same level of care and attention to detail. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
so
where can we find?
Super important to me because I still get a lot of people that say, why do you do it all yourself? Because I control.
Where can we find you, chef? Where can our followers and our viewers, if they're in the area or if they're looking, for a fine dining experience, where can they locate you? What do you have going on?
Well, of course, right now I am doing Memphis in May all week. So I'll be gone, this whole week for that. But I'm on all social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. And I'm on TikTok. I just joined TikTok.
Yay!
Oh, there you
go. Yay!
I refuse. I'm the 70-year-old who's refusing.
You'll regret it in 10 years, Doug. I can assure you that.
Yeah.
I
might not.
I laughed my fucking ass off, and I stayed away for so long. And once I got on, like literally, I'm like at night, I'm just like with the phone. And I'm just fucking dying. I'm dying laughing because
it's crazy how it personalizes, your feed. So like my feed and my wife's feed are completely different. So it's pretty cool in terms of TikTok.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Because
it caters to what you
they
watch.
got your data, Vlad.
All right, Doug. Chef Lisa, as we wrap this up, what's your handler name for everybody to find out? To find you on all these platforms. Sure. Is it different? Is it the same?
No, they're pretty much all the same, because if you go even to Google my name, Chef Lisa Pucci Delgado, all my shit will come up. I come right up on Google. If you Google me, I'm also on Google. I set that up recently, but Instagram is Personal Chef LPD. My website is www.cheflisapuccidelgado.com. Facebook is Chef Lisa Pucci Delgado. Everything is my name. So if you just Lisa Pucci Delgado it, you'll fucking find me.
There you go. You heard it here first.
Awesome. Well, what an amazing guest we had this evening. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you so much, Chef Lisa,
Thanks
for
having
coming
me,
on,
guys.
sharing your story. What an incredible story. What an incredible journey. We're super excited for you. Hope you win.
Thank you.
That
Yes, we will
competition that you
definitely
got
stay
going on.
updated. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. We cannot wait to see. We will
I'll be
we'll be
posting
Insta stalking
all
you.
week.
Perfect. Perfect. We love to see it. We love to support our guest chefs in any way we can.
Yeah, we'll be showing lots of love, guaranteed.
Thanks, guys.
That's gonna be
I love what you guys are doing too. Thank you so much for this. It was a lot of fun. I told you once I start talking, I don't shut the fuck up.
well.
Sorry.
I know. I love. I'm not to say the only person that picks people, but I'm what you call a chef fan, right? So I've been stalking a lot of chefs, more than on average as of COVID lately since we've started the podcast. So whenever I see somebody that's really doing something really cool, creative, and is really like, I can feel that, that love in the food, I try to bring them on the pod. And so far, so good in terms of our pickings. We really, really enjoyed connecting with you and finding out, what you got going on, how you're doing, and, all that hustle, I think is very, very inspirational in terms of how much creative freedom you hold to yourself and you need to enjoy this process, and just like
Yes.
the hustle of being able to run an expediter station at PF Chang's 11 to 9, whatever day of the week it is.
Right.
I mean, that is badass no matter what
Thank you.
anybody says. That and all those little skills that you learn from wherever you learned them are what you are today, which has been amazing to kind of go from our first question of where this all started to like
Right.
where we're now has been an incredible journey. And to all our chefs, we have this final question, and be pretty
Sure.
interesting to see since you've had hospitality, you've had home experience, you're doing your own thing now. Why 86? Where did it come to you in your life? Do you use it? Is this something that's known? And is there any funny stories revolving around why 86?
When you 86 something,
Yeah.
Yes.
why? What do you want a story about it, or I don't understand.
Either way, where did it come in your life? Like cooking with
Where
your
did
parents.
I run into it?
Yeah, like how
running
did
into
that
it,
become a
honestly,
thing into our chef world, right? I use it,
Right,
Doug uses it. You obviously know
Yeah,
what
the-
we're talking about. Most
the
likely
origin.
use it.
Yeah.
I first, of course, ran into it because I didn't go through that at all with my parents. That didn't exist until I got into the restaurant industry. So my first was, of course, Hilton and then PF Chang's. But funny stories about being like with what I am now with being 86 something. You're in a restaurant when you're 86, you're out of it. You don't have it, or you don't even use it for. Sometimes you don't even use it for food. You're pissed off about something. You 86 it. It's just a chef term that we all just abuse anyways, and use it in funny stories too, not just food related. So whether we're talking about, you can get me sex this week, yeah, we 86 the chef, we 86 sex this week. He ain't getting none of that either. So just different fun things, but one difference that I do with 80 being something that's 86, which I ran into myself, because it just happens. Nothing. There's always incidents, but in a restaurant industry, yeah, you're out of it and you have to 86 it, and the client doesn't get it. But in my business, if I am cooking and I'm like, fuck, I don't have the fucking zoodle. Forgot to buy zucchini noodles and I can't make these fucking zoodles. You know what? I have to stop what I'm doing. I go to the fucking market and I go buy that zucchini, and I might be off about 30 minutes that day, but they got their fucking zoodles. So 86
There you
don't
go.
exist in my life.
There you
Love
go.
it.
Chef Lisa, 86 don't exist. I love it.
What a great answer.
Well, Chef and everyone tuning in and watching or hearing this afterwards, thank you guys so much for supporting me and Truffle Boy and coming to listen to Chef Lisa Delgado's story. Please support Chef Lisa on her handles. And Chef, we are wishing you the best in Memphis. And we look
Thank you.
forward to seeing more of what you got coming on. Thank you so much for spending time
Thanks,
with us
guys.
tonight.
Love what you're doing. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Good
Pleasure.
All right, guys, take it easy.
Good night, everybody. Stay safe.
Good night, everybody. Stay safe. And then, as Doug earlier said, please do not slam your low boys.
Yes, please. Respect the low boys, y'all.
Come on, Doug.